Hey cousins, happy Thursday to everyone besides Rosie O'Donnell. We have a lot to cover today, including a deep dive on what is inside of your favorite junk foods, because you may just be eating lighter fluid. Yeah. Speaking of big backs, rapper Ice Spice has decided to intentionally gain her weight back in a desperate attempt to save her career. Maybe she found the weight that Lizzo lost. Also, Professor Snape from Harry Potter is now black, and I've had a lot of you asking me my thoughts on that. Closing today, we will be revisiting the Breonna Taylor case. Today makes 5 years since her death, and even conservatives still don't know the whole story. Y'all know the vibes. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Welcome to Respectfully Xavier. So why did I throw shade at Rosie O'Donnell? Well, let's get right into her because she's the goofy of the day. So y'all know Rosie O'Donnell, right? I really don't even know why she's famous. I think she had a show. She might have been a comedian. I've never found her funny. I've never found her smart or amusing. I find her quite disturbing to look at personally. I think the only thing I really know about I know Rosie O'Donnell memes. I know videos of her getting dragged. And I remember this, it's in the archives of my childhood, this show called Celebrity Deathmatch. I remember her being on there. It was like a cartoon. And I'm pretty sure she had beef with Donald Trump in WWE way back when, if I remember that correctly, because Donald Trump is a WWE Hall of Famer, I'm pretty sure. If he's not, he will be soon. But anyway, why is Rosie O'Donnell relevant? It's because she is one of the latest woke people to crash out about absolutely nothing. But in this case, she announced in a 9-minute video that she has fled the country and moved to Ireland with her 12-year-old daughter because she does not want to be in President Trump's America. So apparently she has been there since January, if I recall. She's been there since January, and I find that hilarious. Her reason that she went is because she says that not all Americans have equal rights, so she doesn't want to be in this country anymore. And it just shows the mindset that these liberals have. Like, who is it that you think is so oppressed that you, Rosie, have to flee the country because you want to make this stand? And I guarantee you leaving, it does not make anybody else feel less oppressed. If anything, the country's already healthier now that you've gone. But if I were her, I would have a particular beef with the president too, only because this clip lives in my head rent-free. Can we play this clip real quick?
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
If somebody cooked me like that on stage and then became president, I would probably deport myself too. I would probably do that too. I would be mortified. But you know what? If anything, I'm not mad at it. I kind of respect it because there's a lot of leftists who constantly talk about how much they hate America and how much they don't want to be here and all these different things. And I'm always saying, then leave. If you don't like America, then leave. The door is wide open. Apparently, it's open enough for people to always fly into our country. They're flooding in here. So you can take yourself out. I'm very pro self-deportation. Let me just say that. I'm very pro whether you don't belong here, you feel like you don't belong here, or you were never even supposed to be here. I'm in favor of you deporting yourself. So Rosie, as corny as it is, and as self-righteous as it is, and as insufferable as that wretched woman is, I respect that she stood on business. She took her 60-year-old or 62-year-old self and deported herself. She has moved to Ireland to make herself a new home. But I gotta say, I just find it funny how you are talking about how there's people here who don't have equal rights as you. Why don't you go to a country where they live? Why did you go to Ireland, Miss Rosie? Why didn't you go to Mexico? Why aren't you in Haiti? Rosie O'Donnell, why aren't you in Haiti, Miss Mamas? That's what I want to know. I want to know why she isn't going to live with the oppressed people that she loves so much since she can't be around Americans. I just find that funny. Is it because their country is full of problems? Is it because their countries are full of the problems that they bring here? Is that what it is, Rosie? So you went to Ireland to be around a bunch of white people. White people. Oh my goodness. Wow. I wonder if they're going to like your whole victim mentality once you get over there. But again, I'm not mad at it. Please stay there. I hope you relinquish your U.S. passport. Please don't come back because, again, America is already healthier. And as we're on the topic of immigration, I just want to talk about this CNN post that absolutely took me out. Can we pull this up? And they were dead serious when they posted this. Y'all know I'm blind as a bat, so I'm pulling it up on my phone. This Florida suburb swung to Trump. Now many of its residents face deportation. And it's almost like that was the point. The reason that people are so against woke culture is because they see the crime in their neighborhoods and they see all the illegals in their country and in our country and in their states, in their cities. Nobody wants to live around a bunch of illegal immigrants. I don't care what benefit it is that you get from them, because a lot of the people who are pro illegal immigrant, what they're really pro is cheap labor, which is borderline slavery. You're borderline saying that you want slaves back if you just want illegal immigrants here so they can pick your crops for cheaper. But CNN, it's like, do you not get it? It's like, that was it. So you agree. These people are leaving and they're risking deportation because they weren't supposed to be here. And if the reason that this county or this region that they're talking about has swung over to red, is probably because they're sick of the illegal immigrants that are there. And I had to read the caption on this. Like, the first paragraph of this caption took me out. It says the lunch crowd, because every time the left talks about illegal immigrants, I feel like they go straight to talking about food, and like food trucks are picking crops, or just how good the lunch is. It's like, I'm sorry that we might have fewer food trucks that you're just going to get irritable bowel syndrome from anyway. But they said, CNN says, the lunch crowd at South Florida's El Arapazo restaurant has thinned out since President Trump's administration moved to revoke the temporary status, allowing hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan immigrants to stay legally in the U.S. Okay, they were staying legally here. Okay, they had their time. I hope they enjoyed their time. Okay, I hope they had fun. I hope they learned something. And if they decide to come back, I hope they do something to be here permanently and do it legally. But until then, you gotta go. Ask Rosie how she left. She might be able to help you on the way out. Moving along. Now, I want to talk about Professor Snape. Is this a safe space? Cousins, some of y'all are gonna get really mad at me for this. Hear me out. I have never watched a Harry Potter movie. I know, calm down. I can feel some of y'all angrily typing right now. It's the same energy when I say I've never watched Star Wars. I've never watched Star Trek. I've never watched a lot of these like major movies, but I just never got into Harry Potter. I see the appeal though. I can say that. I've seen so many parodies of Harry Potter. I feel like I know the plot at this point, and I know so many of the characters, not by name, but at least by face and like their vibe. But Professor Snape, he is one of the iconic characters on there. I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. I don't know what he does. That hair is giving bad guy. That hair is giving villain. That hair is definitely giving villain.
He's not a villain. He's a solid one. Solid one.
I lied. He's a solid one. Mr. Rodriguez said that this is a good guy. Okay, the bob looks a little stiff, but maybe there's some motion when he shakes the bob a little bit. He's known for the bob. So Snape, this is what he's known for looking like. I mean, every time I've seen a depiction of him, I don't know if it's been the same actor, but this is what he's looked like. Well, HBO is now making a new Harry Potter TV series, which I'm honestly surprised hasn't happened sooner. I was surprised that they have not made like a TV adaptation of Harry Potter sooner, but they are making one now, and they have decided to make Snape black. Yes, he is a black man now. Looking at this name, I'm assuming African. I'm going to say it wrong, and y'all are going to be mad at me and say it's a microaggression, but it's like, no, I just don't know how to put these letters together. I'm assuming his name is Papa Asiadu. Papa Asiadu, this man, this dark-skinned brother right here, shout out to him. He was cast for the role of Snape. And a lot of people are mad now because this is yet another situation where a historically Caucasian character is now being portrayed by somebody black. And this is one of those topics where it's like, I really don't care anymore. I'm over it. But I can understand why people get irritated by it, especially when it's a character that you have like a more personal connection with. And again, in fairness, I've never watched Harry Potter, so I really don't know the significance of Professor Snape. But, when it comes down to switching the race of some of these characters, I really break it down into 3 categories. And hear me out. I'm gonna touch on all 3 of them. Okay. So one is like, my first question is, when people ask me, do I care that a character has now been their race has been switched? Well, I say, well, was the race detrimental of the character, whether it's the story arc or if it's a iconic look? If it's an iconic look or just anything to do with the storyline, then absolutely do not change it. Do not make certain characters a different race. And a example that a lot of people bring up when I say sometimes that I don't have a problem with a particular character being switched is they'll be like, okay, well, what if the Black Panther was white? Well, then that would completely disrupt the storyline because, yes, there's white people in Africa. Don't even argue with me. I know Elon Musk exists. But the whole premise of the Black Panther movie centers around this like African society. So you're really throwing off the entire vibe of the movie if that character, if T'Challa is, I miss Chadwick Boseman. That's still one of the saddest celebrity deaths. If he were to be portrayed by a white character, that'd be very weird. Okay, I can understand why people bring that up as an argument, but I don't think that's a strong argument when you're arguing about not swapping out these characters, because that is actually detrimental to the character. That is an iconic look. But then there's times where it is very irritating. Like I talked about this recently in the movie or the Broadway special or whatever it's going to be, Jesus Christ Superstar, with Xaviaer, the bald-headed queer Nigerian British woman who has now been cast to play Jesus. Can't put that in quotations enough. Yes, this bald-headed wench, very talented wench, but she's not Jesus Christ. She shouldn't even I really am not a fan of anybody really playing Jesus when it comes to these movies. But that's just me personally. I gatekeep that. But when it comes to if you're going to depict Jesus for the sake of art, make it be somebody Middle Eastern. Jesus also was not blonde hair and blue-eyed. If we're just talking geographically, he was a Middle Eastern look. He had that vibe to him. So to have a black, and I know this isn't the best example, but it's a bold example of why are you swapping the demographics of these characters? That I find annoying as hell. And then there's times, and it also gets into the argument, is it representation or is it pandering? That is pandering. When you bring up Xaviaer and you put her as Jesus Christ, that is pandering to a woke crowd. But then you have times where they're trying to have representation, which I have mixed feelings on. Perfect example of that, Ariel. When Halle Bailey was Ariel and she was Lil Mermaid, this was another one of those times where everybody wanted my opinion. I didn't talk about it for weeks until people just harassed me enough where I finally spoke about it. Then everybody got mad at me. And I said, I'm a grown man. I do not care who is playing Ariel. I'm sorry. I don't. And, to my knowledge, Ariel's just a redheaded mermaid. At least she had the red hair. Her hair definitely should have been redder. But that was one of those moments where they were trying to have representation. And the only reason that doesn't absolutely disgust me is because at this point, I'm kind of desperate for Black children to have positive representation, to look up to when it comes to the Black community. I would be lying if I didn't say that growing up, if I was watching a show or playing a video game, I didn't look at the Black character like this is like me. Like, y'all know I'm a pro wrestling fan. Shout out to Booker T from WWE. When Booker T would come out to the ring, he was like one of my favorite characters because I related to him a little more. Why? I don't know. Race is just a stupid concept at this point. Always has been a stupid concept. But I want more Black kids to have people to look up to that aren't gangbangers, hood rats, or degenerates like that wench Cardi B. So overall, it's still weird, especially when it comes to this whole blacking the redhead thing, which I thought everybody was familiar with it until I started saying it earlier this week, actually, and nobody knew what I was talking about. Blacking the redhead is essentially this thing that Hollywood does a lot, where they take a redheaded character and they change that to be the Black person in a movie. And I have an example pulled up here. I actually asked ChatGPT for a list, and it gave me 45 characters that were just redheaded white people before, but when they wanted to add diversity to the movie, they swapped out the redhead. And I think it's to be slick. I think it's so that way people don't get as mad. Like if there's traditionally a blonde bombshell that is now being played by a black woman, a lot of people are going to be irritated by that. But when you take the redheads really do get a lot of flack around here. Yeah, redheads are low-key oppressed. I think redheads should start a movement, but I don't really think anybody's going to listen to them until they start burning things. And that's going to be really scary because I have a theory that redheads really like fire, but that's a whole nother conversation. Shout out to the gingers. I hope that's not offensive these days. Everything's offensive these days. But when it comes down to it, it's weird. I think it's corny. Do I care that Snape is black? No, because I'm also not going to watch the show. But if you care, I respect it. I respect that you like your Snape with a bob. But I really just wish Hollywood would do a better job of just making more positive black characters and like characters of different demographics rather than always feeling like they have to switch somebody out or fix something that's not broken. Like we don't need a black Superman. Like Superman is iconic for the way he looks. So it's like, I know they have Tiana. Tiana is the black Disney princess. She was like, I think she was the first black Disney princess to like just be straight up a character. Even then you still can't please people, because I remember when Tiana, this movie came out and people were like, they finally gave us a black princess and she spent most of the movie as a frog or kissing frogs or however the plot works. But at least she's there. That's all I got to say about that. But speaking of kissing frogs, let's talk about Ice Spice. Do y'all know her? Miss Isis Spices, also known as the Hood's Princess Diana. Ice Spice, she is this rapper that blew up a few years back. She first went viral with her song. She blew up really almost overnight. And she's another one of those people that gets major industry plant allegations, and that can't be denied because she had only made, I think, like 3 songs before she became this massive star. So Ice Spice, her first big song was Munch. She was like, you thought I was feeling you? Munch. Like, yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. Nobody knows what she's actually saying, but it was a bop. You had to be there. With her signature pose, her big red curly hair. She is black and a redhead, so you can't swap her out. But Ice Spice, Isis Spices, she is an industry plant. She's a clear industry plant. She was only in the game for like a few months, and next thing you know, she has a Nicki Minaj feature. She has Meek Mill rapping to her song. She has a feature with Taylor Swift. She was at the Super Bowl with Taylor Swift twice. So it's like, you can't deny that. Her and Nicki, not gonna lie, Ice is one of those artists, she's hit or miss. Like, all of her lyrics are stupid. If you listen to her lyrics, it's like basically if Kamala Harris made a rap. Like, she raps about poop a lot. Like, every song she has, she talks about poop. But this song, Princess Diana, from that music video, bop. Certified bop, not gonna lie. But all that to say, her career is in the toilet. She is in the Kaya Asylum, as they call it on Stan Twitter, where she is struggling to maintain her career. She blew up and was like the next huge thing, had the queen of rap, Nicki Minaj, calling her the people's princess. But then she switched up on Nicki. She got exposed, like talking crap about Nicki to her former best friend, who exposed the screenshots showing that she was calling Nicki Minaj ungrateful because she gave Nicki an opportunity, which is insane. That is insane. That's like me saying that I started at PragerU and I gave Dennis Prager an opportunity. Like, that's insane. So like, it's just a delusional level of like, okay, yeah, you're up and coming, but like, slow your roll, that kind of energy. But after that, she got exposed for being a mean girl, bullying her friend on tour, whole long story. Then she dropped one of the worst rap albums I've ever heard objectively, called Y2K, where it was so bad. And I feel like it was symbolic. On the album cover, that is not the album cover. On the album cover, the original album cover at least, she had Y2K, the name of the album, written on a trash can. And it's like, this is quite symbolic of what the album is. Now, why are we talking about Ice Spice? Always got to give y'all a little context before I drag somebody, so y'all know why I'm dragging this person. So Ice Spice was known for having really bad stage presence. Like, all she would do is just like be out of breath on stage, and then she would bend over and do her signature pose, which is literally her taking her hand and swiping her gooch. Like that was all she would do. That was what she would do to get the crowd going, and then she would like shimmy and shake. Well, when she lost her weight, people were saying the ice melted. She was famous largely because of her behind. So when she lost weight and got fit and was a lot skinnier, she thought that was the reason she lost popularity. Not that her album was trash, not that she got exposed for being a really mean, nasty person who wronged pretty much everybody in her path, but she thought it was because she lost weight and got healthy and fit, which I find really weird. But now she's desperate to get her spot back. So this is a snippet of the new song that she has coming out.
She got thin, but she wanna get thick again. Shorty got back on her oats. He stay on my body, it's hard to get rid of her. He know that I like him the most. He taking me out and he's spending a lot.
Who was in Paris? You know, you know. So what I think is interesting is that part of the song that she put out with this snippet is talking about how she got thick again, started eating her oats, how she had to gain her weight back, and like bragging that she put on her weight back so that she could be thick again. And I find that really weird where you went out of your way to be unhealthy and to gain fat, because like she gained literally fat. Like you can be like thick and strong, but like she literally just put back on fat, which it's her body. Do what you want with your body. But I just found it really, really weird that she felt the need to gain fat to research her career. Now, this is what happens when you call yourself an artist, but you're only known for shaking your behind. If you are a glorified stripper, you're never going to be able to sustain relevance without continuing to have that over-sexualized appeal. And I feel almost bad for her because I feel like she really does want to be a musician. I feel like she is passionate about music. She tries. It seems like she does try. But girl, learn how to have some talent. Learn how to take notes. Learn how to treat people right. There's so many things that you could do. And when it comes to crafting your skill set, but just going and eating a bunch of In-N-Out and Big Macs and Whataburger to try to get your career back, what a career. What a career if it's dependent on Whataburger. That's insane. Mind you, that's insane. And I knew that this girl was going to tank when she went on Kai Cenat's stream. If you guys don't know Kai Cenat, I mean, he's like the biggest streamer in the world, but I don't know anybody that actively goes on Twitch. But Twitch is apparently huge because everybody knows Kai Cenat and they can like reference him, but they reference him from clips elsewhere. I don't know anybody who's on Twitch. If you're on Twitch, let me know what you watch because I don't even know how that app works. But she went on Kai Cenat's stream and Kai Cenat asked her to freestyle, which is typical to ask a rapper to do. And she goes, okay, turns around and just starts twerking. And she goes, that's my freestyle. Literally selling behind. Like, that's it. You're a stripper. You're a prostitute. If that's what you want to be, okay. But the rap game, it's not for you unless you can really sharpen up your tune. I just find it sad that you sacrifice your health for your career. But then when I thought about it, and as I was preparing to talk about this, I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? What's worse, intentionally getting fatter to save your career or going to Colombia to get a cheap BBL? And that whole standard of like the enlarged behinds in order to sustain a career as a female rapper did start with Nicki Minaj, but it started because Lil Wayne told her that if she wanted a career that she needed to go get these insane implants. And Nicki Minaj has talked about this and how like it's something that in retrospect bothered her a bit. And she's like, I know she got a breast reduction or something like that in order to like go a little bit more natural. But now you have all these girls. It set this whole beauty standard because the Kardashians started doing it after Nicki did it. And now you have all these girls who have went and got cement pumped into their behinds in order to be attractive or in order to sustain careers as public figures. And that is a very toxic ripple effect, especially when you look at the amount of women who have died from complications from going to Colombia or Brazil to get these BBLs and get these fake behinds. And as natural beauty is making its comeback, as you see more and more women like the Kardashians have removed a lot of their fillers and a lot of their implants. You see Black China infamously took out a lot of her implants and went pretty natural after having her entire everything done for so long. So it's really it's really sad to see that. It's good for them, but it's sad to see a lot of these girls who went and got these cheap surgeries that are not reversible, or they spent all their money on a BBL and now they can't afford to reverse it. And now they have cement and silicone seeping all over their body. And then they wonder why they have cancer or sudden cardiac arrest. It's really getting out of control. So what's worse, going and getting a cement BBL or eating a bunch of Whataburger to try to save your career? Either way, it's not my business, but it's a hot topic, so we talked about it. Moving along. That should be like the slogan for this show, because I'm always in people's business on the show, child. So, something that is my business. Okay. I'm emotional getting ready to tell you guys this. I have really big news. As of this week, I am 12 months sober of crumble cookies. I did not come this far to not be happy. I am 12 months sober of crumble cookies. And I don't think I've told this story before on the show. I know I've told a lot of people it, but it's because I'm trying to raise awareness. The reason I became so anti-crumble cookie is because I briefly had an addiction to crumble cookies where, like, I was obsessed. And the thing is, they're literally not that good. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not saying that as a hater. I even said it back then. They're not that good. But these chemicals in these foods, they're addicting. They have chemicals in there that make you hooked to it. And I got to the point where it was like, I felt like I couldn't have dinner unless I had like a bite of crumble cookie with it. And then it got to the point where I was eating, like, it's honestly so embarrassing. It's a miracle my back never got too big. I did start getting love handles at one point. It was getting aggressive. But I was eating like up to 4 of those crumble cookies within a 24-hour period. It was really bad. It was really bad. And it completely shattered my metabolism. I used to never have to worry about what I was eating. I never had to do abs, and I still had abs. But then I started like getting a big back, and I was like, okay, this is becoming a problem. And it took, shout out to CJ Pearson and Emily Saves America. They both bullied me simultaneously when I was complaining about being fat. And it's like, would you always have to order crumble cookies every night? And I'm like, okay, sometimes my business ain't your business. But I'm glad they said that, because it finally dawned on me. I was like, okay, I shouldn't be eating these. And Emily had never even tried a crumble cookie. So she told me that I'm basically eating, what was it? She said I was basically eating lighter fluid. And I'm like, what? And I didn't believe her at first. So then I started looking, and this should have been common sense, but then I started looking into just how bad the ingredients were. I already knew it was a lot of calories, and I just didn't really care because again, back then I had a whole different mindset. But when I realized not only are there like upwards of 1,000 calories in some of these cookies, I realized what is actually in these cookies, and it is horrible. Because, for example, this is like one of their average cookies. This is a cookie they have in their menu pretty often, I'm pretty sure. 880 calories. You know you're eating something out of control when it's one cookie, but they have separated it into 4 servings. How is a cookie 4 servings? I would like to hear that explanation. That's insane. A cookie should not be split into 4 calories. They do that to try to be slick. I know what they're trying to do, because one cookie being 220 calories is a lot of calories, but 880 calories in one cookie is insane. And then you look at the added sugars. That's one of my biggest things for diet now. When people ask me how to slim down, I'm like, if you have to cut out one thing, in my opinion, not a nutritionist, but in my opinion, cut out added sugars. Only natural sugars, no added sugars. But so much fat, so much added sugar, all in this one cookie. Then let me read y'all some of the ingredients in this cookie, child. Some of the common ingredients in these cookies, I'll give you 6 of them, because I got a whole list of toxic ingredients in these cookies. So one of the more common ones, and it's going to get worse as it goes, soybean oil. Soybean oil is used in like their banana cream pie cookie. That is a key ingredient in biodiesel production, powering vehicles and machinery. So yeah, that's what you're eating. Biodiesel, the basis of biodiesel. Then you have titanium dioxide, which is common in their frostings, or if they're giving anything certain textures, especially their red velvet white chocolate chip cookie. That's an additive that is deemed genotoxic by the European Food Safety Authority in 2021, suggesting it could damage your DNA and lead to cancer. And it's also used as coating for solar panels. The red velvet white chip cookie was one of my favorite combo cookies. Like the thought of it now just makes me want to throw up. And it's so funny that like the thought of it, I can almost taste the chemicaliness in it. And it's because I'm eating solar panel, not solar panel. I'm eating solar panel coating. That is what's in there. Then you got propylene glycol, which is common in their tres leche and a lot of their creamy toppings, which the tres leche one, another really good one. That one that's to maintain the moisture in it. That one, let's see, it is used as hospital grade disinfectant and sanitizing foggers due to its ability to kill bacteria and fungi. It is a key ingredient in hand gels and vaporized air sanitizers. It's also used as an antifreeze agent in HVAC systems and e-cigarette fluids. In a cookie. Girl, cousin, you're eating a tres leche cookie, but what you're really eating is e-cigarette liquid. What you're really eating is HVAC antifreeze. Insane. Then you got sodium if you can't say it, don't eat it. Okay? And some of y'all are spelling bee champions with the things y'all eat and still go by that rule. So the sodium benzoate, lemon glaze or strawberry crumbs or syrups, that's the cookies that it's usually in. And that's to extend its shelf life. And that is known as a carpet cleaner or a rust inhibitor. Yeah. Then there's ethanol in it. That's in their pink sugar cookie. That's hand sanitizer, disinfectant, powers rocket fuel. And one more for you, benzoyl peroxide. That one is a catalyst in plastic manufacturing and also an industrial bleaching agent for textiles. And a cookie. That's more toxic than Ice Spice's cookie. Okay? So when I say I am 12 months sober of crumble cookies, I deserve my flowers because, and honestly, I shouldn't even say that. I'm lucky I don't have flowers on a casket, considering I was eating lighter fluid. And I'm just telling y'all this to make y'all aware because I want y'all to know what's really going on in your food. And how this whole conversation really came up is Chick-fil-A. Y'all know Chick-fil-A. Many people call it God's chicken. But I'm never going to call it that again. No. Because as good as Chick-fil-A is, I saw this video and I was mortified.
100 degrees are in your Chick-fil-A pickles?
Silicone on your French fries?
Antifreeze in the sauce?
What?
This
Antifreeze
Chick-fil-A
again.
meal has polysorbate 80 in the pickle.
Dimethyl polysoloxane in the French fry?
Propylene glycoalginate in the sauce.
I bet I won't find these ingredients in your pantry.
They're meant to extend the shelf life, cheapen the prices, and get you addicted.
The crazy thing is this meal has 82 highly processed garbage ingredients. 16 of them are petroleum derived or synthesized. Now look, all of these are generally recognized as safe at small amounts, but how do you think our bodies break down these lab-made synthetic abominations?
If you want to do the dose mix the poison, by all means, but we're going to skip this trash.
So next time your homegirl wants to go get some Chick-fil-A, just let her know you're eating petroleum, babe. Allegedly. I'm pretty sure you can say that technically because it's on their own label. But everything I just said, same thing as the crumble cookies. You're eating antifreeze. You're eating petroleum. You're gasoline, basically. Like, all for the shelf life. Why does it need that long of shelf life? How long are these cookies and sandwiches sitting out that you need to extend the shelf life? That's very scary. That is very, very scary. And I did not think that Chick-fil-A was that unhealthy. I knew it clearly wasn't good for you. But seeing that video, it was mortifying. This is why we need RFK Jr. We need RFK Jr. to start beating these people up. Yeah. I saw him inside of an In-N-Out and I hope he gave them the business. Well, I don't know if In-N-Out, I think In-N-Out is like slightly healthier than most of these fast food chains, but I also thought Chick-fil-A was a little bit higher up there too, but I should have known better because I know the Chick-fil-A sauce is actually so bad for you. But this is just the ongoing theme of how corrupt our healthcare system has gotten and how corrupt because it's all connected, okay? Because big food, the reason that they're making us sick is because they are funded by big pharma and big healthcare and all of these different groups. They get you sick, they keep you sick, and then you pay them to try to get you better, and then they get you just better enough to get you sick again. It's like this crazy cycle. And again, I can't believe we're already in 15 episodes of this show. I feel like we just started. I don't know if I've told you guys yet the connection between the FDA and Big Pharma, but if not, I definitely got to give you guys that rundown, because the amount of there's like a 90% conflict of interest in their leadership. And I'm not kidding. Like, it's actually that high. So their leaders are always going back and forth. They're approving the things to get us sick and then approving the things to keep us sick. Like, that's the cycle that we're in. And then they make us sick through our food. Everything is basically giving us cancer at this point. And then right when you thought it couldn't get any worse, Girl Scout cookies. Girl Scout cookies got sued. Oh, yes. If you guys look at my Instagram recently, I actually talked about how mad I was because I got robbed again by one of those little girls. Those little girls are hustlers. Okay, our first female president, she will be a Girl Scout. She will be a formal Girl Scout, because they are hustlers. Like, this girl was giving her dad the business. She sold me either 5 or 6 boxes of cookies. I can't even eat these. I literally can't even eat Girl Scout cookies. Even if I wanted to, after learning this information, I can't eat these. They make my stomach hurt. So I still ended up walking away with them because there's just such good little salespeople. But yeah, anyway, so Joe Rogan actually exposed the heavy metals that are allegedly inside of these Girl Scout cookies on a clip that went pretty viral. Can we play just a little bit of this clip?
Investigation found 100% of tested Girl Scout cookies contained glyphosate, 100%. Controversial herbicide and Roundup. 88% contained toxic metals like arsenic, lead, and mercury. Key finding, Thin Mints had the highest glyphosate levels
Tragic.
at 111.07 ppb, 334 times what experts say is harmful. Peanut butter patties had the highest heavy metal contamination, with lead reaching 42.5 ppb and aluminum at 27,500 ppb, ppm. 76% of cookies tested exceeded cadmium safety limits, and 96 contained lead.
That's wild.
That's enough, because I feel like we're breaking people's hearts, letting them know your favorite snacks are literally killing you. But what I will say is, as they were getting sued for $5 million from this woman claiming that the cookies had heavy metals, pesticides, and other toxins in the cookies. And what they responded, what Girl Scouts of America responded, they didn't actually say anything about the lawsuit, but what they said regarding the study is that the study was not... what they said regarding the study is that safety is their top priority and that they're FDA compliant. Well, considering that the Crumble cookies and Chick-fil-A are also FDA compliant, I really don't think that that's a credible source anymore. But what I will say is, literally an hour before I came and sat down today, I realized that the lawsuit got dropped. It got dropped this morning because the organization that did the study, according to Per GMO Science, it says that the study was incredible enough to be the basis of the lawsuit. That there were only 25 cookies tested, it wasn't peer reviewed, and it was based on water safety guidelines, not food safety guidelines. But even with that, even if it was just 25 cookies, even if it was just one box, for me personally, that's enough to justify me never getting those cookies again. It's enough for me to say this is something I am totally cool off of for the rest of my life. And the lawsuit may have been dropped, that class action was dropped, but you know, everything in the dark comes to the light, and I hope in due time they either change their recipes or they're held accountable for all the heavy metals that are in there. And they tried to blame the soil, saying that the soil has metals in it. It's like, yeah, obviously, like, we're not stupid. But when it's that high of a level, when it's that concerning of a level, because even when you run it by food safety guidelines, it's still very concerning. So I'm going to be keeping an eye out for that. But I think you guys should really be careful about the junk food you're eating. There are healthy junk food options out there. I would name some of them, but you ain't getting free promo out of me. Y'all better write the check. But they're out there, especially if you have a big back. Push the plate away. Pick up a vegetable. Moving along. Now, it is 5 years to the date of the death of Breonna Taylor. May she rest in peace. Breonna Taylor. So, first of all, most of you guys know this by now. I was a former BLM activist. In 2020, I was super woke. I was woke my whole life. And I was woke in supporting BLM way before the George Floyd wave. Like, I was one of the first people who was learning about the Breonna Taylor situation. And, you know, if you want to see my whole red pill story, just to save time, you can go and look at my stories of us on PragerU.com, where I really break down, like, why it was that my mindset changed. Now, when it comes to Breonna Taylor, there is a lot of confusion about what actually happened to her. And I want to try to alleviate some of that confusion today, because I feel like even some conservatives are confused about what happened with Breonna Taylor, because what happened. So the synopsis, the the big overview first. If you don't know who Breonna Taylor is, 5 years ago she was shot and killed. She was unarmed in her apartment in Louisville, Kentucky, and her home was raided by 3 police officers who entered, and they were granted a no-knock warrant. Now, the impact of this is huge because she died before George Floyd, a few months before George Floyd, but her case blew up and became a huge public thing right after George Floyd. So a lot of the protests you saw going on weren't just for George, they were for Breonna Taylor too. And like Cardi B, she had her as her profile picture for years, saying justice for her. Everybody was screaming for justice for Breonna Taylor. And it truly was arguably the second biggest BLM case. You could argue Trayvon Martin too, but between the two of those, it would be one of them after George Floyd. Now, the impact of that definitely was huge on the culture and on the community. And there were a lot of lies about it. The story I first heard about Breonna Taylor, and that I heard for years, and then slowly but surely I kept getting, no, that aspect's wrong, that aspect's wrong, that aspect's wrong. It's like one by one, I started getting more and more pieces of information about what actually happened with her. And the story I first heard is that Breonna Taylor was laying down in bed. Police came up to her window. They went to the wrong house. They had a warrant for somebody else's house, and they shot inside of her bedroom because they saw her there. And then I also heard narratives that she had a gun sitting on her dashboard, and that's why they shot her. And like all these different narratives. Turns out none of that is true. None of that is true. By now, you guys probably heard a little bit more of the truth, but some of you still don't know what happened. So let me break it down for you. And actually, before I even get into that, I want to talk about her mom real quick. I believe her name is Tamika Palmer. Tamika actually notoriously called out BLM in 2021. And she made a Facebook post where I want to read just a piece of this. Let's pull that Facebook post up, please. Let me find that real quick. She basically called out Louisville, and she called out BLM, the Louisville chapter. You guys can read the whole thing there. The highlighted section is the part I really want you guys to know. She talked about how BLM was making all this money on Breonna Taylor's name, image, and likeness, millions and millions of dollars. And not a single cent went to her, not to her legal fees, not to her emotional support, not to anything, not to her funeral costs, nothing. BLM raised millions of dollars, and not a dollar went to Breonna Taylor's situation, or Breonna Taylor's mother, or her situation. She also called out how the BLM community and the BLM leadership was talking so much about how they're there to support the family. They love the family. They're there to ride for Breonna Taylor. They're there to do all these different things to support her legacy and her loved ones. But she said that she would go places and nobody would even know who she is. So how can you sit here and claim that you love her, you support her family, and then nobody even knows who her mom is? That's weird. That's really weird. Kind of similar to with George Floyd with his whole situation. His family acted like, but except that was his family. His family tried to act like they were so close with him, but years went by and nobody had even went to pick up George's stuff from the place he was living. And his roommates just had to deal with his car being in the way for years. The trauma of that situation. So what I also respect about Tamika is that she clocked the Kentucky State Representative, Atika Scott, I believe is her name. Yes, Atika Scott, called her another fraud. She didn't elaborate too much or specify why, but what's good to know there is that Atika Scott, the state rep, she was the one pushing for Breonna's law to ban no-knock warrants. And she also was notoriously talking about how they were there to support the community and to support Breonna Taylor's family, and got called a fraud by Tamika Palmer. Now, she was pressured to delete these posts and like to kind of walk it back and say that she was emotional. And really what that to me is the whole community rained down hell on you because they're like, you're getting in the way of BLM, which is so wild to think about, because from that very moment, everybody should have known how much of a fraud this was, because this was over a year after Breonna Taylor had died that Tamika finally started popping off. And I remember seeing that because this was right after I had finally started speaking out as a new conservative. And I'm like, okay, this just assured me I'm not crazy. Okay, so shout out to Tamika Palmer for being bold enough to put that statement out there, and it's so unfortunate that they forced her to walk it back. But it tied into some of my frustrations when I was marching for BLM, where I was constantly talking about we're raising all this money. You say that we're doing all these different things, but where's the money at? Why are we paying for different things? Why are we paying to organize this? Where is the money coming from nationals to the chapters? None of that was happening. All the money was being embezzled, and it's like I'm tired of talking about BLM, but had to do it for Breonna. Because I wanted to really tell her story, because I don't think Breonna was necessarily a bad person, but she also wasn't necessarily innocent either. So after all this time, people still don't really know what happened. So let me just run y'all through this real quick. So what had happened was Breonna Taylor, she was an EMT. A lot of conservatives say that she wasn't an EMT anymore, but there's no proof of that. If anything, there's 2 hospitals that claim that she was still working with them as an EMT. So she was still an active EMT, and she did not have a criminal record at the time of her death. She had a past relationship with a guy named Jamarcus Glover. Now, Jamarcus was a convicted drug dealer. And this is why I tell a lot of girls, especially the black girls, shout out to black women, beware of the company you keep. Beware of these problematic men, because you can end up in a situation like Breonna did because of problematic men. Okay? Be careful out there. So she was dating this drug dealer, and years after their relationship had ended, they had still remained in contact. And there's some people who try to deny it, but there's plenty of proof out there that they've remained in contact. Now, Jamarcus Glover, he was still using Breonna Taylor's apartment as a current home address. And that was in databases as recent as February 20th of 2020. And again, Breonna Taylor died 5 years ago to date. So that is, again, that's weird. That's suspicious if you're not having communication with them. Because mind you, she had a whole boyfriend on the side. Now that's a hot topic that I'm not going to be messy. So I'm going to respect that situation. But they were still in communication. He was still receiving packages at her home. And he claimed that, and this, the officer who really exposed a lot of this, he claimed that Jamarcus Glover was seen going into Taylor's house as recent as mid-January, so just a few months before her death, and that he would leave with suspicious USPS packages, which we all know you can put anything in a USPS box. So when USPS later came out and tried to say, oh, well, we don't have any records of him getting packages here, that means nothing, okay? I can go buy a USPS package and then ship it through any other group. You can do that, or just drop it off if it's like a drug dealing situation. Anyway, so he was driving, he would take the packages and he would drive to known drug houses. And Breonna Taylor's car was also observed parked at a drug house that was linked to Jamarcus Glover on multiple occasions. So you can't really deny that she had connection with him. Then the internal report said that there was also surveillance of Jamarcus Glover entering and exiting Taylor's house, and that there was a tracking device on Glover's car, showing that there was trips to her address, and bank statements also showing that he was using Breonna Taylor's home as a just as a current address. So again, all of this just to paint the picture. Breonna Taylor, as Brandon Tatum says, shout out to Officer Tatum, Breonna Taylor was knee deep in this criminal investigation because they were looking into him. And then even after Breonna Taylor died, just to show more just how connected she was to this situation, because a lot of people try to claim that she wasn't connected to Jamarcus Glover and that they were never actually supposed to go to Breonna's house, but that's just not true. Because even after Breonna Taylor died, Jamarcus Glover reportedly said to his baby mama that Bree, which we can assume is Breonna Taylor pretty safely, was holding thousands of dollars of his money. Now, they never found the money, but that also doesn't, or the drugs or anything like that, but that doesn't mean that she didn't have a stash somewhere else. So all that to say, the search warrant, since people claim that it was at the wrong house, I want to make it very clear that it was not. They were meant to go to Breonna's house. They were meant to go to many places, but they were intended to go to her home. And in March of 2020, the Louisville Metro Police Department detective Joshua James obtained a no-knock warrant for Breonna Taylor's home signed by Judge Mary Shaw based on an affidavit claiming that Glover used the home address and that there were packages going there in January. So the warrant was again linked to that warrant was one of 5 linked to Jamarcus Glover's investigation. It listed the correct address and there was no confusion there. So to make that very clear. Now, when after that, or I already went there. So I'm going through this outline here because I want to make sure you guys get all the details. I already told you guys, just to make it clear, that there is a denial from USPS saying that there wasn't packages going there. But again, they have it on surveillance. So a little bit of it is up to you to make your conclusion there. Now, the night of the raid, so March 13th, 2020, around 12:40 a.m., so the police officers showed up in plain clothes, which I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan, unless it's like truly a type of operation where you shouldn't be wearing police uniform. I think police officers should always be in uniform if they're doing their duty. So the police officers showed up. They arrived at Taylor's apartment to execute the warrant. They were not wearing body cams either, per the unit's protocol. I also have a major issue with that. That is something I hate. That is something I think police officers, for their safety, for their reputation, for their department's safety, and for the safety of civilians, police officers should always have a body cam on. I don't care how much in funding that costs. Every police officer should always have on a body cam, and I feel like it should stay on anytime they're interacting with people. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know why there would ever be protocol to not have a body cam on, especially in today's day and age. So I hope that's something that has changed since then. Now, the police, even though they had a no-knock warrant, they say that they knocked 6 or 7 times over a 30 to 45 second period, yelling police search warrant. So at this point, Kenneth Walker is in the apartment with Breonna Taylor. They're laying down, they're sleeping, they were watching a movie before, and they were woken up. And they claim, so by they, I mean Kenneth Walker claims that the police had started barging into the apartment and didn't announce themselves because they had the no-knock warrant. I don't believe that one bit, because there is a neighbor who also attests that they had knocked on the door, and that these officers have been very clear and very consistent with their story, the fact that they did knock and announce themselves. So once they ended up breaching the door with the battering ram, Walker, who was legally armed, because I want to give you all the tea, all the details, he was legally armed, but then he shot his handgun at one of the officers, and he shot one of the officers in the thigh. So then after that, of course, the officers return fire, because at this point they think it's a shootout. You're dealing with a drug dealer or you're potentially a drug dealer who is more than likely armed. They probably at this point think that Jamarcus is the one shooting at them. They don't know that Breonna Taylor has a whole another man. Breonna Taylor was getting down respectfully. So that being said, they start shooting back, and they end up shooting Breonna Taylor. They shot 32 rounds into the apartment, and they ended up shooting Breonna Taylor because she was the one closest in the line of fire. And 10 shots were blindly shot through a window in the patio door. And that's where the narrative comes from, saying that they shot through the window and making it seem like they went into her bedroom window. That is not the case. And that was something that, some were entering the neighboring apartment. That was also one of the issues that happened there. Some of the bullets went into a neighboring apartment, so that was a lawsuit within itself. So yes, Taylor was unarmed. Yes, she was asleep when they first got there, but I don't believe that she was still asleep by the time they were banging on the door. In fact, she couldn't have been, because she was shot in the hallway. So all of this to tell you the story of what actually happened with Breonna Taylor. In the immediate aftermath, Kenneth Walker then called the police. He called 911, reporting that someone had broken into his home and shot Taylor, which, again, at that point, I don't believe that. I feel like that was him trying to cover his behind and make it seem like he didn't know it was the police, which was smart thinking, because it saved him jail time for shooting at this officer. And to public knowledge, he didn't have a criminal record. So I don't necessarily think Kenneth Walker is a bad person. I think it was just a very unfortunate situation all around. I think there's a lot of things that could have been done to avoid the situation, but to make it seem like these people just went and senselessly killed Breonna Taylor for no reason, that's just not the truth. And I can understand the outrage that comes about the Breonna Taylor situation. I think her situation is very different from the George Floyd situation, but I don't think it was something worth destroying entire cities and communities for. And I don't think that that's something Breonna Taylor would want to attach to her legacy either. In fact, her mother, Tamika, also spoke out against the looting and the rioting that was happening, saying that to steal and to rob and to shoot and kill people on behalf of Breonna Taylor's name, that's not something that she ever wanted. I do still have a lot of questions about the Breonna Taylor situation, and I hope this gave you guys a more clear understanding of what actually happened. It wasn't as senseless and reckless as people try to make it seem, but it was a situation where there was a lot of lessons learned there. And unfortunately, when you shoot at a police officer, especially police officers that have knocked 6 or 7 times announcing themselves, you F around and you find out. And unfortunately, Breonna was the one to find out after her boyfriend was the one effing around. And that's really what it comes down to. So may Breonna Taylor rest in peace. I hope her family finds healing. And I know they got a $12 million settlement. If you guys want to know all the legalities of what happened after, I beseech you to go and do your own research because I can't do all the work for you. But I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. Be sure to go to PragerU.com. Check out all of our videos. It is still a special fundraising month here at PragerU. All of your donations are greatly appreciated. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, so you guys donating is what keeps our videos free, keeps the lights on in this building, and continues to change minds, impact hearts, and allows me to have a show that you guys clearly like if you're still here watching. So I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Have a good weekend.